she dies early on. Don't get attached.
Oh, it's spoilers, everyone. We do spoilers.
Welcome to Reading Between Deadlines, a podcast with two authors who read books with the same crazed enthusiasm as we write them. Rachel Johns is a Diet Coke-addicted best-selling author writing rom-com, rural romance and women's fiction. And Anthea Hodson is a coffee-addicted victim of menopause who writes historical fiction and won't shut up about it. Together, we run the Rachel Johns Book Club and travel the country, reading, writing, talking and drinking wine, because we're a bit classy. Join us as we delve into some worldwide bestsellers to see what makes them tick and to see if we love them as much as we love writing. The end.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Reading Between Deadlines. I'm Rachel Johns. How are you, Anthea?
Hi, Rachel Johns. I'm Anthea Hodson, and I'm really hot because we've got the biggest heat wave here in WA. So I'm skulking about my house and it's boiling, boiling hot.
Same. I had to find the coolest shirt that I could wear that was presentable because we, people can see us doing this. But I've got the aircon in my office, which I rarely have because sometimes I get too cold when it's on the rest of the house. But I've got it on, so it's like beaming down at me now. So I'm feeling quite cool now. But yeah, outside it's horrible. The other night it didn't go down to it was 37 still at 7:30 at night or something.
Oh yeah.
And I've got a friend in Texas, and he's posting photos of snow in Texas, and that's weird. So anyway, this is not a weather podcast, even though when we're so hot, we have to whinge about it.
We're authors, but we do like talking about books. We like writing them. We like talking about them.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like doing much else. Oh, I'm drinking wine with you.
That's right, because we have got a couple of catch-ups coming up.
Traveling to exotic places with you, or not so exotic, but just, places. Yeah.
That's pretty exotic. We're out and about in Perth.
Yeah, true. All right. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much to the people who have so far listened to episodes. We are really, really stoked that we have received our first reviews on podcast platforms, Apple and Spotify. Yep. I don't even know if we're anywhere else. I think we're hopefully going to be on YouTube by now, but by the time we listen to this. But so it's so exciting for us to get our very first review. We've got 2 ratings, 5 stars. So thankfully that's good because as authors, we don't really like anything less than 5 stars, do we?
Yes, we're very precious about that. But no, it's lovely to see some reviews coming in.
So I thought I would read one and maybe you could read the others.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to read the one on Apple from KB Writes. And I'm trying to work out, I'm being, my detective side is trying to think, KB Writes. Do we know KB Writes? So if we know you, thank you. If we don't know you, thank you as well. Here's what KB Writes said. Rach and Anthea are so entertaining to listen to, and I'm loving the Kiss, Kill, Marry review format. So thumbs up to you, Anthea, for coming up with that. And we also have some love on Spotify here.
Yeah, look, we do, which is great. We have, I think it's Leavesville, maybe. And she says, I think it's a she, because it sounds like a feminine name. Thanks for sharing, ladies. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish it as I lost interest very quickly. Thanks for confirming.
She's not referring to the podcast, is she?
Well, that's what I thought, but I'm going to continue, and so don't cry just yet.
Okay.
Thanks for confirming my original thoughts about the book. I'm not sure I could have handled some of the events that occurred later in the book. However, I'm glad I listened to the podcast, which was very interesting. So,
thank God. Although I know that from some of our comments on Substack after we released this, I know you were a bit like, eek, are we stopping people reading books?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that now?
Yeah. Hey, look, I've had another look at the numbers, and I feel okay about it because I think a thing about the book was never that it was poorly written. It was a pretty well written book.
And it's only our opinions, right?
Yeah. So look, I hope that we didn't bag out the book to the extent that we're turning people away, because it is really well written. So if it's your bag, then you really will enjoy it.
And I think, though, as you said, the numbers, we've purposefully in this sort of first episode each month, we are purposely choosing a book that has had a huge amount of success, right? So it's not really going to matter what we've said.
I don't think anyone's going to be too upset with us because, and that's the thing. And we know as writers, when you put it out there, it can have your blood, sweat and tears and 4 years of your life in it. And someone's going to say, you spelt brooch wrong and I didn't like it in the book.
Oh, who's spelled brooch wrong? stuff that we said in the last podcast about all fours, and I'm sure whatever we're going to say today, we haven't discussed the book, so we don't. But like some people will have loved what we didn't like about all fours, and that they have made them run out and get it. So yay. Right. Is there any other thing on Spotify?
Well, there's one very short, and I felt like this person could have not put more effort in because there's a lot of exclamation marks.
Okay.
But
I do like exclamation marks.
Look, I bloody love an exclamation mark. But this person could have given more rounded feedback, I feel.
Okay.
They've just written Go Girls, and that's from Marty Zeeble.
Which is Anthea's husband. Now, he gets points, I reckon, though, for actually taking the time out to leave us a review. That's supportive husband points.
Review, but
yeah. Both our husbands have listened to the podcast.
And did you get a review from your lovely husband?
No, that's what I'm saying. So Marty gets, I got a verbal review.
Yeah,
so like, he gave me a bit of feedback. I think Marty gave us some feedback too.
Yes, you heard
my husband basically said, yeah, it's pretty good. He did have a little bit to say about the rating system, but I'll get to that later.
Am I going to have beef with your husband now?
Yeah, I think you might. I know I may as well explain it. He thought that kiss, kill, marry, that's not enough. And at first I was like, whatever, like usually. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about when we actually get to the book. So that was one of his critique.
Take on board.
Yeah, I hate to think that maybe he's actually right now that I've finished reading this book because we don't like admitting your husbands are right.
We won't attribute it to them. We'll just say we thought of it ourselves.
Yeah. What was your husband's feedback?
My husband, and look, he likes to give feedback about just lots of things he doesn't know about, and this is one of them.
Same with mine, clearly.
So his feedback was, we need to get tanked before we do it. And
behind that.
He suggests a few drinks before we get, and he said, we've got to be really honest. And I said, you heard the first episode. We were really honest. So I
was honest. What more does he want us to say?
I don't know what he thought.
I reckon he wanted us to get deeper into sex life stuff, our own.
Maybe.
He's a man.
That's right. Maybe he wanted more of the weird. But I think he really did enjoy it. And we listened because we're on holidays down south. And he and my daughter both listened. And they really genuinely seemed to be enjoying it. So it was creepy having to sit in the car and listen to it back, mind you. But
yeah, I know. But it's also, I feel like, I always actually do listen to a podcast back that I've been on because I wanted to check that I didn't say anything really cringeworthy before I share it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons I don't want to hear it, because if you have, it's kind of too,
I know. I just hope that it'll be buried. Anyway, today's book is The Ministry of Time. I'm trying to show it here, but it's a bit blurry on my screen. I think because I've got a filter to make myself look prettier.
Not that filter.
Anyway, so it's a Ministry of Time. I was about to call it Milliner of Time then. That's a different book altogether. Anyway, it's The Ministry of Time, and it's by, I think, would you say Kaliane Bradley?
I'd say Kaliane Bradley. Yep.
Now, I know that it won the Dimmicks Book of the Year last year, but I think you did some research and found that it wasn't just the Dimmicks Book of the Year that it won.
It's all been going on. It's got here one of Barack Obama's favourite books of summer 2024.
Wow.
A New York Times bestseller, winner of the Goodreads Choice Award for Science Fiction, a Good Morning America Book Club pick, Best Book of the Year, NPR, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Vox, Good Housekeeping, The Independent, Parade, Kirkus Reviews, and more. So it's done well. And then on top of that, it won the reader's favourite science fiction novels as voted by Goodreads members, and it was chosen. We've done Good Morning America from the Good Morning America Book Club selection. It was shortlisted for the Waterston's Debut Fiction Prize in 2024 and longlisted for the Climate Fiction Prize in 2025.
And there was a Climate Fiction Prize. Anyway, keep going.
That's Dimmicks Book of the Year. Yeah, no, neither did I. That's something to work towards.
Is that it?
That's it. But there are also some.
I'm sure there'll be more stuff, won't there? Probably coming.
But and there's some really lovely reviews and quotes from Emily Henry and.
Emily Henry said, it's on the front cover, hey, electric, charming, I loved every second. So that's really interesting. And David Nichols, another one of my favourite authors on the back, smart and affecting, full of ideas, plus slow-burning love story, a wonderful debut. And there's even an Aussie on the back, Diana Reid. You'll want to fall in love with these characters over and over again. And just in terms of, before we get into the chat, and we have no idea what either of us are going to rate it,
No.
I just want you to know, Anthea,
Yes.
that there are 98,602 ratings of this book on Goodreads.
That's fine. Whatever we think is fine.
So, she would have sold a few. She's okay. No matter what, whether you love it or hate it, it's not going to affect Kaliane's, career.
Okay.
So it's all good. Okay. Interestingly, despite all the hype, the rating on Goodreads currently is 3.61.
Which is respectable, but not incredible.
Yeah. And you're going to give us a little recap of the book in a moment because you're better.
Yeah, God, what a challenge it is for this book as well. Because
it is a bit of a challenge.
Can I do a quick recap before this recap on our so far our grading system, which may change as of today.
Yes, tell everyone.
When we read the books, usually because we have a book club together, which is the Rachel Johns book club on
Facebook. We'll make sure there's a link in the show notes
over there,
so that you can join us on Facebook, where we have great chats and a great community.
Yeah, we've got another app coming up soon. And there, while we're reading, we're quite often chatting to each other on Voxer or emailing or texting about the book.
And not just that book. We often read the same books, right? Hence why so we're always in contact about the book. So we thought for this one, we'd change the rules so that we are not allowed to talk about the book at all with each other until right now. This is Anthea's rule, but I love it. It's horrible, but I love it.
Sometimes I'm living to regret this rule because I'm going, I would ask Rach what's going on, but I can't. Yeah. So we've got that rule. We can't discuss it because then we might feed off each other's
I was hoping you were going to tell me what was going on.
Oh, look, I've written it down. I know exactly what's going on.
Okay.
You know how much I know what's going on at the best of times in the one timeline. So there's that. But then the rating system, we thought it'd be interesting to do a marry, kiss, kill. No, I never know what to say those words. So
kiss, kill, marry. Is that kiss, kill, marry? Yeah, I think that flows off your tongue better.
Yeah, okay. Kiss, kill, marry. Okay. I feel like kill should come at the end. But
kiss, marry, kill doesn't sound as good though.
2 wordsmiths and we can't work it out. So kiss is I enjoyed it. I'm probably not going to have it buried in my coffin with me when I die, but I enjoyed it. It was a good read. Marry is one of the greatest books I've ever read. It resonated with me. It's going on my bookshelf and there it shall stay. And kill is why did I read this piece of crap? Why has Rachel Johns made me read something that I hate? So that's the kill. You may have noticed that our first episode for me was a kill, not because the writing was bad, but it just didn't vibe with me. But it was a kiss for Rach. So sometimes we.
As you think you said a pretty loose kiss, or what you said?
It was a very light kiss from you because you kissed it, and then you seem to have a number of problems.
And that's why I'm wondering if maybe we need more. Maybe my husband. Don't let him know I said this. That maybe he was right, and maybe though I love the kiss, kill, marry rating, maybe we need something.
Or maybe we more.
Anyway, I've got a solution for us.
Oh, okay. Well,
you do the book review. Well, not the review, the recap.
I'll tell you what's going on,
and then we'll do our ratings. Okay. Or do we do our ratings first?
No. I'll tell
you tell us
very quickly go
I'm
through.
going to try and sit here and not interrupt unless I have questions.
Very quickly go through. I won't go to because I'll go very quickly. So essentially, love the cover, by the way. This book is a combination of a time travel, a romance, historical fiction. So it's a sci-fi time travel, historical fiction, social commentary. I'd say it's probably all of those things, probably more. You know the other thing about this book that is the same as the last book?
Mm-hmm.
The main character, no name.
I noticed that too. I thought, how
weird that the 2 first books we do.
And we didn't plan that by any means. We had no idea when we picked both of them up that the main character wouldn't have a name. Maybe that's how things happen kind of in the zeitgeist. People write about the same things or so maybe we're going to see a whole load of books now where you don't know the main character's name.
Note to self, I'll do that next. Okay. So now I'm going to do the recap, which is there is a character. She's a Cambodian English woman. She is employed at what turns out to be the Ministry of Time by a woman called Adela, and she finds out that time travel is possible, which she wasn't aware of, and that they have taken, I think it was originally 7, but 5 people across from their own timelines in situations in which they were already going to die, so that them being removed from that timeline wouldn't change anything in history. And so they brought people back from 1665, 1645, 1916, 1793, and I think 1847. So the main character...
They went further back and bought like a caveman. Anyway,
they had. I feel like they had 2 characters. They said there were 7, but 2 of them died. They didn't make it.
Okay, yeah,
coming through. So the main character is Graham Gore, who was an actual Victorian guy. He was an explorer, and he died on an Arctic mission trying to find a way through. I think it's the Northern Passage, we call it. But anyway, they were icebound, and hundreds of guides died, and he was one of them. So he's the main character in it, one of the main protagonists. But there was also an Anne Spencer who came through from Paris. She dies early on. Don't get attached.
Oh, spoilers, everyone. We do spoilers.
And then there was Arthur, who was an army captain in the Battle of the Somme. So he was the 1916 guy, and he was a really sweet character. There was a Lieutenant Cardingham. He was in Battle of Naseby in 1645. He was a bit of a dick. And there was Margaret, who was from the Great Plague of London. She was 1665, and she was a friend to Arthur from the Somme and to Graham Gore from the Arctic. And so
Arthur and Martha were very fun.
Yeah.
No, Arthur and Maggie. Maggie? Margaret.
Maggie. Yeah,
I just called them Arthur and Martha, sorry.
And so they are the sort of the 3, they kind of become friends, but it's really very much told through the protagonist, who's this Cambodian English woman, and her job is to be a bridge, which is to live with Graham. They each have a bridge each, and she lives with Graham as his link to the 21st century, and this is how we do this. Is an iPhone, this is how you catch the train, all that sort of stuff.
He caught on pretty quick.
A kind of a romance ensues. But it doesn't read like a romance. They become friends, and there's a love story there, which is quite nice. And we'll obviously get into that because you're a romance professional.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that.
Get your thoughts about that one. So there's that going on. There's also the bridge, who remains nameless for most of the show. She has a handler called Quentin. Quentin sees a picture drawn by Graham Gore and becomes obsessed with it. It's like, this technology doesn't exist here. What's this doing? Blah, blah, blah. That turns into its own whole plot line. And Quentin is dropped from the Ministry of Time. He kind of goes on the run. He's on the outs. He's kind of got conspiracy theories left, right, and centre, and eventually he gets shot in the head. So
Quentin,
it takes on a whole sort of a whole thriller dimension, as well as all those other dimensions that I've just talked about. So it's kind of a time travel thriller, romance, commentary thing. The other thing that's going on in the book is that
definitely on climate change and
climate change,
how we treat different races and women.
And that's what I was just going to say, because we've got Samilia and the main protagonist, and obviously main protagonist is Cambodian British, and Samilia is she's African, I think, African British.
Yeah, I think she's African.
There's a lot of discussion about race in the novel. When I say a lot, I don't know if that's where it was going. I don't know that there was enough, but there was.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we're not talking about that.
And then, so they all, I would say it all comes to a head, but they all sort of separately sort of happen. And eventually there are 2 more characters, Brigadier and Sir Lacey. Turns out that these 2 characters who she thinks are trying to hunt her down and all her peeps down, turns out they're from the future. So we've now got characters coming back from the future. So Quentin was on the money.
Are you keeping up, everyone?
Yeah, this is, and I'm going to keep on moving because kind of it almost doesn't matter.
It's very useful to me.
Kind of right at the end, Adela, who is the woman who gave our protagonist the job in the first place and said, there's time travel and you can work for us. Adela turns out to be the future version, or the older version, the future who has been there for years, of the protagonist. So it is herself that she's been dealing with this whole time.
Yeah.
So it all becomes very interesting.
I was like, there, whoa, head blown. And that's where I was like, then, how the hell does this all work?
And then you kind of get that paradoxical, well, if Adela gave the protagonist the job in the first place, then who gave Adela the job originally? Like it's all that with time travel.
Yeah.
So that all happens. The expats, as they call the time travelers, are then on the run. And Arthur is killed.
They realize there's a threat or something, right?
I think Maggie survives. Arthur is killed.
Yeah, poor Arthur. It was very sad.
Yeah, I said about him. Cardingham. I don't know. Can't even remember if he survived.
I feel like maybe he did. Was he
Cardingham.
Ralph? Was he Ralph?
Graham survives. Graham and
Hang on, was Cardingham Ralph? Who was Ralph?
Could have been. Don't know.
No, Ralph maybe was a bridge.
Yeah, Ralph's not ringing a bell with me.
Ralph, I've got a description here. Ralph was under the water, his eyes wide, unseeing, already the face beginning to bloat. So he died.
Yeah, things didn't end well for Ralph. R.I.P. Ralph. Don't remember who you are. So the Graham and what we now know is young Adela are kind of falling in love, blah. But Graham realizes that Adela is part of the system, and he and Maggie leave, and so that's kind of the end of those two as a couple for that timeline. But what Adela has told herself, her younger self, is that she's actually married to Graham in her timeline. And they've had a kid.
I can't just keep up. It's just too confusing for me.
Yeah. And they've had a kid, which they've called Arthur.
Yeah.
Arthur, who got killed.
Isn't it like a sultry teen, like what's the word? Not sultry.
It's sulky teen who can't stand
sulky, that's what I'm looking for. And Anthony and I can completely relate to that character.
Yeah, like an
half between us.
So that's kind of the overall. But
that was really good description. For me,
I think we need to now not say another word.
Okay.
So we do.
All right. I want you to do your rating first.
No.
Okay. Okay. I need to get.
Okay. Make the rules, lady.
Okay. Ready.
Get ready. So 1, 2, 3. Say it.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Let's have a countdown.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Kiss.
One date wonder.
I'm not accepting that because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So I'm just not accepting it. In my mind, you've actually not answered the question.
No, I will tell you why. Because I don't feel like it's definitely not a marry for me.
No.
I would not be marrying this book and raving about it, which surprised me because so many people I know and love.
No, I thought I would love it because it's time travel and a romance, and I thought I'm in for it.
Yeah, I really thought I would like it. I don't want to kill it because I actually don't have I don't have that much feeling for it.
No.
Like after you said last week was a light kiss, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a kiss either. So then this morning I was thinking, I was actually talking to a friend of the pod, Sophie Green, and I said I was, about to do this, and she's like, oh, what was the rating? Because, she's already listened to us. Thanks, Sophie. And I said, oh, I'm really not sure. Like, I feel like there should be something, between kiss and kill. And she said to me, what about one date wonder?
Right? Is it a wonder, though? Because it doesn't sound
I'll tell you why. And this is why it's a one date wonder. Because I thought it would be great, right? And I was excited about the date and going into reading the book. But it turned out to be a bit disappointing.
So is the wonder you're wondering why you went on the date?
It was a one date wonder in that I had a date with it. Or it could just be what's the other thing? Instead of a one date wonder, so kiss, kill, marry makes sense. What about ghosted? I'm going to ghost the book. I've turned up on the date.
I feel like ghost is probably the same as kill. You might as well just kill if you're going to ghost.
Oh no, ghost is anyway. Okay. What did you say? Then I'm going kill if I have to be.
Okay. Yeah.
If I have to choose between kiss and kill, I have to go with kill, I think, because I think
so you liked this less than all fours.
Yeah, I like this less than all fours.
So I liked it more than all fours. So
okay. Would you want to say what you liked about it, and then I'll say, what I did?
I thought I really liked things. I liked the writing and I liked the voice of the main protagonist. Mm-hmm. I liked the idea of the time travel.
Yeah.
But the things that I wanted to happen within that didn't happen.
When did you want to happen?
Well, in terms hang on, let me just think if there's anything else I like about it, because otherwise I don't want to sell it short. Mm-hmm. I liked the time travel. I quite liked the when she met herself and that whole situation there. I quite liked
that was clever.
that.
I
that
have to say
paradox.
the second half of the book I preferred to the first half. Anyway.
Oh, okay. I think I'm opposite to that as well.
Oh.
I liked all
I
that.
felt more things started to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I liked those parts. What I wanted this to be, and it's not in any way the author's fault that it's not what I wanted it to be, because I'm a big sap. But what I wanted it to be was certainly the setup fine, and those characters coming across fine. That's all great. I thought if it was going to have a romance, I wanted it to be more romantic and more.
I have issues with the romance.
What he's given up and what he would see as part of a relationship and what she would see as part of a relationship, or things that are awkward between them. I wanted to see more of them out in the world, interacting with the world. Also, I felt like if the book was going to discuss some of those issues like climate, colonialism, racism, sexism, homophobia, if it was going to discuss those things, and it mentioned those things, but it didn't ever really have her saying to Graham Gore, yeah, but why did you think you had the right to go to Australia and do that?
Yeah.
Why did you think you had the right to, see those Inuit people and blah, blah, blah. Like all that sort of stuff. He would say,
I glossed over those issues.
And then she would go, oh, that's Orkies. And then she wouldn't get into him with it. And to me, that was part of the interest of the story, where how does that woman feel about that? And how did she feel about that?
100%, I agree.
And so I thought that was a missed opportunity. So I would have, if it was going to be a passionate love story that doesn't work out because they're from different times, or because he realizes that now his body's rejecting this time, or whatever it's going to be.
So I would have liked that.
Sorry?
I would have liked that better.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded a love story where it could end tragically because of that, would be fine. Or end happily, and then he is the biggest hipster in the place because he's got the big burners, whatever. But it didn't go there.
He did look pretty hot in the photo they put. There's a picture in the back of the book, people's.
Yes.
Because he's a real person, we should say. I don't know if we mentioned that, did we? That Graham Gore.
I think.
Are they all real people? Maybe they're all real people.
No.
Graham Gore is definitely a real person. I don't know if the other people are real or she made them up. We should have investigated that. Anyway.
I don't know. But yeah, so look, I'll let you tell me what you thought. But it was the trying to do too many things thing that I found confusing and not satisfying. Whereas the thriller element to me wasn't introduced early enough and wasn't developed enough for me to care about it.
Yes.
The romance wasn't developed enough for me to care about it. The twist where Adela was herself was introduced way too late.
I like that. I agree.
It's way too late for me.
Yeah, like I'd want to know, you'd be wanting to ask your future person, like, you know, the stage where she's like, don't tell me something. And I thought that was like a really interesting, like, she goes, do you want to know how our parents died? And she's like, no, I don't want to know that.
Yeah.
And there's some really interesting things that you could play with.
Yes, I thought that was all the opportunity.
Yeah, I feel so. Like there was some, I love some of the banter, and I quite liked some of the characters. I like the minor characters better. And this makes me wonder about like how we've had two books in a row with a nameless main character. Does not knowing the character's name. I mean, it's a weird thing to say, as I'm saying, but because it's only a name, really. But to me, a name sort of makes you real, more of a person kind of.
It gives you an anchor, doesn't it?
I think what the authors are trying to do with this is that it's like, you know, in first person and that, and you don't know the name because like we don't go around, like if we're thinking ourselves, I don't go around Rachel. Hey, Rachel, you know, like, and in conversation, we don't often actually call each other, you know, by our names to people unless you're like telling someone off, like, or, you know, asking for someone on the phone or whatever. So it's realistic that in her own head or even in conversation, we might not actually hear her name. And I guess here also she's known as a bridge and all that kind of stuff.
And he refers to her as the little cat.
Yes, which I found a bit weird. But like, I think I don't connect to a character as well without a name. It's just something. There's only 2 books so far, but that's all I can think about that. I agree with everything you've said, and I think for me,
I was going to say, what did you think of the romance? Because you are a romance writer.
I thought the romance was a waste of space. And maybe that's why I didn't really enjoy the book, because I didn't buy. Well, one of the reasons I didn't buy the romance at all. But I'm going to put a caveat in here in that I have read this book over about 2 weeks, dipping in and out of it at various times. Sometimes when I've been pretty tired at night. And so I read the last half, and I said I enjoyed the last half better. I read the last half in the last couple of days, pretty much, much closer together. I'm also a terrible person in that I dip in and out of different types of books. So that could affect the reading experience for me, that it's been over a longer period of time than I meant. But then saying that, I told a friend that, who I'll actually read some of her review in a minute, Brooke, who is our admin in our book club, Rachel John's book club. And she said, but if a book, you know, if you take that long to read a book, like it's not like you were desperate to get back to it.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's my fault or something else. So I just want to put that there because, you know, I do think your emotions the time you read a book is
it definitely didn't pull you through.
Thing. But I found the romance like I just didn't even. It's like suddenly, hang on, I highlighted a whole load of things actually. I don't even
feel like it beforehand.
Ones where she would say stuff about Graham, and I'd be like, "Are you trying to tell me you like him? Because, lady, you need to do a romance writing."
I reckon that's why I liked the first half more, because all the crazy stuff hadn't started happening, and I had hope for the romance that it was going to develop. And then by the time we got 2/3 of the way through, I went, oh, this is never going to pay off. And so I think I'd kind of given up on it by then.
Oh, here we go. I said there's one line here I wrote, I looked at Arthur thoughtfully. This is our character. I had accidentally caught his eye a number of times that evening. On reflection, every time it happened, it was because our glances had both been resting on Graham. This is page 127. And I'm like, do they both have a thing for Graham? So I wasn't 100% sure yet whether, you know, she was being unprofessional and going to get it on with her, whatever, expat. But then there was a few other things that came later on. And I was suddenly like, oh, here we go. I wanted him to stay for other reasons too. It was humiliating to know that about myself and to say nothing into his implacable publicity. And I'm like, okay, so she wants him to stay for other reasons? Does that mean she's, you know, what I want is her going, he looks hot with his sideburns.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and oh my gosh, the scent of him. Or just also, actually, not even that, but as I've talked about before writing romance, I want to see, like, to me, to believe that two characters are attracted to each other and supposed to be together. It's not just the physical stuff. It's also, like, I don't really feel they had any deep conversations, like you said. And they didn't really tell each other a lot about their family. There was maybe one or two, you know, paragraphs.
Yes, totally.
So there was a little stuff. It started getting, you know, a little bit more saucy. And then suddenly she's kissing him and he's all upset about it because he wants to be honourable, blah, blah. He was trying to court her, which I thought was quite amusing, you know, and the different sort of ways that you date and what we expect in terms of, or what's acceptable, I should say, in terms of romance and relationships. Like, it was fun. And that could have even been played with a little bit more. I don't know. Because then
that could be so... Don't be great in a romance, that whole... It's a great push-pull.
What a great conflict. But I guess it's not... that's, you know, it's not a romance. It's a book with romantic elements, I suppose. And I wonder, did we need the romance at all, actually? Like, if we're going there. I mean, I get, you know, that she's then married to this guy, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it would have been more fun to me. I'm just a bit speculating here and rewriting other people's books. But imagine if she couldn't stand the guy that she was living with. We had that enemies to lovers stuff. And
I love that even more.
Adela comes out earlier, like you said, right? And tells her who she is and says, and I'm married to him. And she's like,
oh, I read that book.
There's no way I'm marrying that guy.
That horrible old sexist pig.
Yeah, you know, like, and then that's in her head, and she starts seeing things. She starts going, well, he is pretty hot. And you know, and once that feeded into it, and then she's gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did. But I found the sex scene quite amusing.
I like the sex scene.
You know, and the fact that the first kiss was, you know, not perfect and wonderful, because you know, and even though I write romance, I like it to be realistic. And, you know, I think that is quite realistic sometimes that, you know, you, so I like that bit. What I didn't like.
Yeah, once I got down to it, I thought it was quite good and quite well written because it was, you know, it did have them finding their way.
It was the beginning, the lead up. I didn't buy it. And so I probably, because I didn't buy it, I didn't really care about all that stuff. Like, I didn't buy that romance. So I wasn't on board for the sexy times that much. Yeah. And what else I didn't like is, I was just confused a lot of the time. And I said, I think that was because there were so many names. We had the names of the characters and we had they were called sometimes by their number.
People had handlers and bridges and
and so it was hard for me to try and like, and so then I lost track of the plot, and, you know, that's a reflection on me maybe, or the reading experience as well.
No.
But I was like, when you explained it to me, kind of in the beginning. I actually wrote this note when I was reading it. I've forgotten. I wrote DNF as if I probably would have DNF'd this. For anyone who doesn't know what that means, that did not finish. I probably would have didn't finish. I wouldn't have finished this book if we hadn't had to discuss it. Yeah. And that's when I wrote, I think we need something between kiss and kill, because I don't hate it enough to kill it. You know what I mean? Like, what does the book?
I think if you hate it enough not to finish it, I think that's
it's a kill. It's a kill, probably.
Yeah, that's a kill.
But I mean, I said I didn't hate it. Parts of it were really enjoyable, but I felt confused a lot of the time because, as you said, there was so much going on. I also felt like as every now and then they'd be dropping in, like it almost felt preachy about the racism and the climate change.
Actually, I agree with that. I found that and I noticed that.
And I'm like, don't preach to me, show me, you know.
And you've got opportunity to actually talk to the people.
Yeah. And then it felt very long-winded at the beginning, which would have been that great opportunity to fit it. Well, for me, you said you liked the beginning better. I felt I was quite bored in the beginning, and it would have been the great opportunity to, I feel like, to develop the romance of the characters a little bit more. But then at the end, it was like fast. Suddenly so much happening. I'm like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah. But it also felt like a lot of that stuff that happened at the end felt contrived to me.
Up soon, by the way.
It's happened to us again, right? But a lot of the stuff at the end felt a little contrived because I didn't feel as if it had been built into the plot from the beginning. Yeah. I felt as if we had this, I'm not going to say slow burn, but because there was no burn. But we had this relationship and these friendships and blah, blah, blah. And, what do you mean there's a cinema? Who knew? All that going on. And then we sort of hit vaguely the midpoint, and all of a sudden there's spies from the future and there's people getting slaughtered and there's people hiding in sewers and then there's people being murdered. And like, I'm not on board for this because you haven't ever let me know what the danger is. She's feeling worried she's under threat. And I don't even really know why she's feeling like she's under threat.
Yeah, so, that's how I felt too. Like I was like, this is threatening her. Why are they threatening her? And it was just like, I think like now that you've summed it up for me and now that I've finished, I feel like the premise is very clever. The plot is probably very clever too, in terms of, well, clever, I mean, in she's thought it all out, kind of, but maybe it's too convoluted. I don't know. But anyway, I just want to ask you a couple of questions before we wrap up. Okay. One, did you guess that Adela was her?
No.
Either did I. So I quite like that surprise because that came out of nowhere and that was quite satisfying, but also weird.
She didn't do anything with it though.
No, exactly. It wasn't really. Apart from the fact the Graham Gore thing, but we've already established how that could have been so much hotter.
Yeah.
And more satisfying. The other thing is, I felt like, I just want to know, if you were, say, you were suddenly found yourself in 1652 in some, other part of the world or whatever. I mean, they were all from England. No, they weren't. Anyway, do you reckon you would have adapted? I feel like they all adapted quite well. Like, Graham can speak, he understands how, he gets quickly to use an iPhone, better than maybe either of us, all this different stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
he did that pretty well. It was over a year, I guess, but, I've had 54 years and I haven't adapted.
It was like a conversation they had quite near the beginning, and I'm like, does he really, just like, do they really, why did she have a chicken bag too? Was there a reason for that?
It was just adorable, was it? At one point she does shove, Quentin gives her something, she shoves it in there.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm just like, okay, is there any reason for what? Yeah, I just found there was parts of it where I just thought, he seems a bit too settled. And then I thought the twist, because I accidentally read a review that said something like, it surprised me that he was real or something. Now I understand they must have meant actually real as like a historical figure that was.
Oh, yes.
So now, but I hadn't clicked that then.
Yeah, so you had your eye on him thinking,
oh, is he not really part of the experiment? So
that would be a good twist.
I was looking for that, which was interesting. So yeah, I'm not sure about the adaptation and how they seem to just adapt really. So that's a really just minor, tiny quibble. Yeah. But I have a couple, just wanted to check the things that I'd written earlier. One of the things we wanted to always unpack is why this book is successful, right? It's been a big hit.
Yep.
Why do you think that is?
I think maybe because it's an intellectual take on time travel.
Interesting. Did you also see that it was people, there was a little bit of a hoo-ha on Goodreads about this, in that they thought that she had stolen the idea from, was it a Spanish TV show?
I have heard reference to a Spanish TV show. I hadn't heard that they thought she might have taken
Well, a few people said it's not stolen exactly, but fan fiction, but I have not seen that TV show or know really what it's about. And then somebody else said, here's a review on Goodreads, 1 star, not original, purely copied from a Spanish TV series of the same name. Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, that surprises me that she's done it deliberately then, because surely you'd change the name if you were going
to. Or if you're going to do it deliberately, like, like if you're doing a Jane Austen, retelling or whatever, lean into it. So that, you think it's because it's the intellectual time travel. It's kind of a literary time travel thing.
Yeah, maybe because it's not, it's because it's dealing with
people think that other people are enjoying it, and it's intellectual. It's got a bit of actual history,
and it leaned out of the romance, so that tells us it's intellectual.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Because I'm not really sure why. I mean, the only other book that I can think of that's been, there's probably lots actually, but my son came in yesterday and asked me, "Have you got Time Traveler's Wife?" And I'm like, "Yes, I love Time Traveler's Wife. It's one of the best, books. Not that I have read it. I probably read it before he was born. I don't know when it came out, but I just thought, is it because that type of book was such a hit, and it's time we were ready for another sort of thing of that? I don't know. My other question for you: would you recommend it? Well, I guess that's in our Kiss Kill rating thing. I wouldn't, which surprises me, because as I said, I know a few people who've really raved about it, and then I don't hate it. I hate it when other people who I respect and stuff rave about a book, and then I don't really love it, and I think, what's wrong with me?
I'm with you. So I don't need to kill it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. And I think we talked about point of view choice. The structure is interesting because we do get a little bit of back, like some historical little aspects.
We do, which I quite like. They never really paid off though. I thought
that's what I was wondering too. It just felt like
to be.
Yes, like we didn't need them. Do you reckon like you could have just got everything kind of from their conversations in the book?
And that's to have those is great if it's a different type of book, which is looking into who he is as a man in both times and all that sort of stuff. Kind of wasn't that, so didn't need.
I found the bit at the end quite interesting where it actually talks about who he was. Anyway, we better wrap this up, but thank you again for listening. And we have a few little announcements and fun things to say before we go, don't we, Anthea? Have you got anything to say first, or Anthea?
I just wanted to say that next month we're doing, is it intermezzo or intermezzo, Sally Rooney?
No, I've been saying intermezzo. So our March book by Sally Rooney.
Yeah, but Sally Rooney. Did I say Sally Rooney?
No, you didn't yet. But so next month is that'll be our March release.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to it.
Sally Rooney has had huge success, and so we'll be unpacking her whole package a bit as well. I'm talking about intermezzo, and which I'm kind of curious about, because I'll admit I'm not a huge Sally Rooney fan, but I love the idea. I don't love chess because I can't play to save my life, but I've got a son who's very, very good at chess and was obsessed with it as little, so I'm interested in the chess angle. But the next month after that, we're gonna we've got a few ideas. But we'd really love you to weigh in on what book you think we should read in April. And so
we need someone else to blame, don't we?
What's that? Yes, we need someone else to blame.
Hate. We need, or kill, I should say. We need someone else to blame. So, let's put some books up.
We're going to put a few books in. You can help us choose in a poll in our Substack. And we came up with I'm super excited about it. I don't know, Anthea, you're super excited. You're thinking Rachel's crazy. Now, how many books do we have to read?
I'm excited to go crazy. So, I'm happy to go along with anything, Rach. You know me.
So, we've decided that we're going to, on Substack, where we release this podcast, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, we also have a Substack. Please subscribe. We are actually going to have a bonus episode each month for paid subscribers. It won't start until April. And our very first episode is going to be with Natasha Lester, because we're going to have a guest author each month from April. And the guest author will get us to read one of the books that they love, one of their married books, right? One of the books that they would marry.
Yes, the book they're married to, still on the shelf. Yep.
So Natasha's chosen The Blind Assassin. And neither Anthea or I have read it, which is good. We're hoping that each of the books that we get chosen by authors will be new ones to us, so we can see if we agree with them. So that will be starting in April. So you can pledge, I think, to follow, like pledge money to us on Substack, but you won't have to pay until we turn on paid subscriptions. And we're hoping to come up with some other things we can give our paid subscribers too, apart from that fabulous bonus episode a month.
Do you think we should ask people what they like?
Yes. What do you want from us? Like, apart from an extra bonus podcast each month.
Yeah. Anything else any content that you enjoy elsewhere?
Within reason. Nothing like what's that thing? OnlyFans.
Don't say OnlyFans. Yeah, don't.
Time to discuss a book.
Don't even. I'm so glad mine's not here, because when he hears that, he will be.
I love it. And yeah, I'll tell Craig that we've just decided that's going to happen. A bonus episode each month between them.
That'd be great. And then we can give them some feedback.
Gosh, that is such a good idea. Anyway, let us know what you want us to do with our paid subscription. And I think that's about it. Please follow us on our Instagram as well. Reading.
Yeah, Insta would be great.
_deadline.
And if you can review, we'd really appreciate it.
Yes, we will love you forever. Give us a better one than Marty and Anthea's husband.
And you don't have to use so many exclamation marks, but more than 2 words would even be great.
Yeah. And please, if you want to join our book club, the Rachel Johns Book Club, just search on Facebook, or you can find a link through my website as well.
And you find it there. Thanks so much for listening to us. We are 2 authors. We're very busy writing. We love reading. We're trying to get everything done in the day. So in some ways, I think we'd probably say to us, we're here producing Reading Between the Deadlines, but please don't listen to us.
You'll only encourage us.
Thanks for listening to Reading Between Deadlines. Be sure to join the Rachel Johns Book Club on Facebook and follow us on Substack and Instagram. There you can share your thoughts on the books we're reading and even make suggestions for which novel we should subject to our Kiss, Kill, Marry rating next. Until next time, happy reading.